It always starts with a whisper, a rumor on the fringes of the financial world, something the mainstream media dismisses as noise, a conspiracy theory for the tinfoil hat crowd. But then the whisper grows louder. The pieces start to connect, and suddenly the unthinkable becomes the inevitable. For months they told you the BRICS alliance was just a talking shop, a symbolic gesture, a group of disparate nations that could never truly challenge the might of the US dollar. They told you to ignore the signs, to keep your money in the system, to trust them. They were wrong, or worse, they were lying. Because what I'm about to show you is the proof, the one thing they never wanted you to see. These aren't theories, these aren't predictions. These are the minutes from a meeting that was never supposed to exist. The secret tapes from the latest BRICS summit. And what they reveal is a plan so audacious, so aggressive, that it will not just challenge the dollar, it will end it. And it's happening far sooner than anyone is prepared for. Let's be clear. This isn't about economics anymore. This is about power. For over 70 years, the world has operated on a single unspoken rule. America sets the terms, and the dollar is the weapon. It has allowed the United States to print money at will, to fund its wars, to sanction its enemies, and to live far beyond its means, all while the rest of the world foots the bill by holding our debt. It was the perfect system for America. But for everyone else, it was a raw deal, a ticking time bomb. And nations like China, Russia, India, Brazil, and South Africa have been quietly working for over a decade to dismantle it. The BRICS alliance wasn't a social club, it was a war council. Their early moves were subtle: bilateral trade agreements in local currencies, small-scale currency swaps, the creation of the new development bank as an alternative to the IMF and World Bank. Each step was a small chip away at the dollar's foundation. The financial media in the West barely registered it. Minor developments, they called them. No real threat. But we have now obtained transcripts from a closed-door session at the recent Johannesburg summit. These weren't from the public press conferences. This was a late-night, unscheduled meeting between the finance ministers and central bank governors. The security was absolute. No phones, no aides, just the key players in a soundproofed room. And the recording, leaked by a source deep within one of the delegations, is chilling. Voiceover. The window of opportunity is closing. The Americans' debt is unsustainable. Their political system is in chaos. They are vulnerable. We must accelerate the timeline for Project Golden Bridge. The infrastructure is in place. The political will is there. The final phase must be initiated before the end of the next fiscal quarter. Project Golden Bridge. It sounds innocuous, doesn't it? Like an infrastructure project. But the documents attached to this transcript define it in terrifying detail. It is not a physical bridge, but a financial one, a new independent payment and settlement system, completely disconnected from SWIFT, completely insulated from US sanctions, and backed not by faith in a government, but by a basket of real physical assets, primarily gold. For years, the biggest obstacle to a true dollar alternative was the settlement mechanism. How do you trade oil or grain or microchips between Brazil and China without touching the dollar? SWIFT, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, was the choke point. It's based in Belgium, but it's an instrument of American power. The US has used it to cut off entire nations from the global economy, most notably Iran, and more recently, Russia. The BRICS nations knew this. And while the world was distracted by pandemics and politics, they built their own version. According to the leaked documents, Project Golden Bridge is a blockchain-based platform, audited in real time, that allows for instantaneous, direct trade between member nations. No correspondent banks in New York, no dollar conversions, just a direct swap of digital tokens representing real assets. Voiceover. The asset backing is critical. We will begin with a 40% gold, 20% oil, 20% strategic minerals, and 20% grain composition. Each member will contribute a portion of their reserves to the asset pool. This provides intrinsic value, not the full faith and credit of a bankrupt nation. The initial launch will involve the settlement of all energy trades between our nations. This alone will remove over $1 trillion in annual demand for their currency. $1 trillion, let that sink in. That's the equivalent of the entire GDP of a country like Mexico or Spain, wiped from the dollar's demand ledger overnight. And that's just the initial launch. The plan outlined in these tapes details a three-phase rollout. Phase 1. All energy trade between BRICS members and their new allies, like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iran, moves to the Golden Bridge system. This is the kill shot to the petrodollar, the agreement that has forced the world to buy dollars to buy oil since the 1970s. The tapes confirm that Saudi Arabia has secretly agreed to this. They are just waiting for the official announcement. Phase 2. The system is opened up to all trade in commodities and manufactured goods. Any nation that wants to escape the threat of US sanctions will be invited to join. Think of all the countries in Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia that are tired of being bullied by the US Treasury Department. This creates a parallel global economy, a true multipolar world. Phase 3. The launch of a new common currency for international trade, backed by the Golden Bridge asset pool. This isn't a currency for citizens to use in stores. It's a reserve currency for central banks, a direct competitor to the dollar, but with one key difference: it's backed by something real. It's the 21st century version of the gold standard. The most shocking part of these leaked tapes is the timeline. The public statements from the summit were all about gradual change and cooperation. But in private, they are talking about a blitz. The Russian official mentioned the end of the next fiscal quarter. That's not years away, that's months away. Why the sudden urgency? The transcript gives us the answer. Voiceover. Their inflation is not under control. They will have to raise interest rates again, which will crush their bond market. Or they will print more money, which will devalue their currency further. Either way, they are trapped. The instability of their system is now a greater risk to us than the risk of their retaliation. We must move before they export their collapse to the rest of us. He's right. The United States is caught in a debt spiral. With over $34 trillion in national debt, even a small increase in interest rates adds hundreds of billions to the annual deficit. The Federal Reserve is trapped. If they fight inflation by raising rates, they bankrupt the government. If they save the government by printing money, they destroy the dollar. The BRICS nations see this. They know the endgame is here, and they have decided to protect themselves by pulling the plug first. So what does this mean for you? For your savings, your retirement, your 401k, your pension? It means that everything you thought was safe is now at risk. The value of the US dollar is based on global demand. If that demand is suddenly cut by 30, 40, or even 50% as the world pivots to the Golden Bridge system, the value of every dollar you own will plummet. This isn't a slow decline, this is a cliff. It will feel like a sudden, overnight devaluation. The price of everything imported, from the phone in your hand to the gas in your car, will skyrocket. The inflation we've seen so far will look like a joke. Your savings will be wiped out. The stock market, which is priced in dollars, will crash as the unit of measurement itself breaks. This is not a drill, the plan is in motion. The secret tapes prove it. The whispers have become a roar. While the media distracts you with politics and celebrities, a fundamental shift in global power is happening right under our noses. And it's worse than we thought, because it's not just a plan anymore. It's a countdown. They are preparing for a world without the dollar. Are you? Let's dig deeper into the mechanics of this financial coup. The beauty of Project Golden Shield, from their perspective, is its elegance and its use of the West's own financial innovations against it. The distributed ledger technology, the blockchain, was a Western invention. They are simply perfecting it, scaling it, and aiming it back at its creators. Think about the implications of Phase 1, the Great Unloading. It's not just about selling bonds. It's a psychological operation. As the BRICS nations, the largest foreign creditors, systematically reduce their holdings, the US Treasury is forced to find new buyers. Who is left? The Federal Reserve, which means printing more money and fueling inflation, and domestic institutions, pension funds, insurance companies, and your 401k. You are being forced to buy the very debt that the smart money is dumping. They are transferring the risk from their balance sheets to yours. The leaked audio contained a particularly cynical laugh from one of the delegates after this point was made. They see it as a joke, a final, ironic twist where the American people are forced to fund their own demise. And what about Phase 2, the commodity shock? This is where the plan becomes truly devastating. The petrodollar system wasn't just about forcing nations to buy dollars for oil. It created a massive, multi-trillion-dollar ecosystem of dollar-denominated finance built around it. Dollar-based loans, dollar-based derivatives, dollar-based trade finance. When the BRICS platform launches and prices oil, gas, wheat and copper in a new unit, this entire ecosystem becomes redundant. It's like a dam breaking. The initial removal of $1 trillion in annual demand is just the first wave. The secondary and tertiary effects will be an order of magnitude larger. It will trigger a cascade failure in the global derivatives market, a market with a notional value in the quadrillions. This is the systemic risk that the media and the so-called experts refuse to discuss. They can't even model it, because it is an extinction-level event for the current financial system. The commodity backing is the masterstroke. For 50 years, the world has run on a faith-based currency. The dollar was valuable only because people believed it was valuable, a belief enforced by the might of the US military. The BRICS are replacing this faith-based system with a reality-based system. Their new currency unit won't be backed by the promises of politicians. It will be backed by the physical reality of a barrel of oil, a ton of copper, a bushel of wheat. How can a currency backed by $34 trillion in debt compete with a currency backed by the very things humanity needs to survive? It can't. It's a checkmate. And that brings us to Phase 3, the Golden Shield. The reintroduction of gold is not just a financial move, it is a moral one. It is a statement. It is a declaration that the era of the printing press is over. The era of fiscal discipline, of sound money has returned. The BRICS nations will be positioned as the responsible adults in the room, cleaning up the mess made by the profligate, debt-addicted West. This is a narrative that will resonate powerfully with the developing world, the global South, which has suffered the most under the dollar standards inflationary regime. They will flock to the new system, not just for economic reasons, but for ideological ones. It will be seen as a liberation from financial colonialism. The leaked tapes make it clear. They have thought of everything. They have wargamed the West's potential responses. More sanctions? The new system is designed to be sanction-proof. A military response against a bloc that includes Russia, China, and Iran, and controls the world's energy supply? That would be suicide. The West is trapped. The architects of the dollar system have become its prisoners. This is the precipice on which we stand. The information is out there, if you know where to look. The central banks of the world are buying gold at a record pace. The trade deals bypassing the dollar are being signed every week. The technology is being finalized. The leaked tapes are not a warning of a possible future. They are a confirmation of the present reality. The countdown has already begun. The only question is, what will you do when the clock hits zero? This is the moment of truth. The global financial system is a complex machine, but it runs on a single, simple fuel: confidence. For half a century, that confidence was placed, willingly or not, in the US dollar. The BRICS plan, as revealed in these tapes, is not just to offer an alternative. It is to shatter that confidence in a single decisive blow. By moving the world's most critical commodity, energy, off the dollar standard, they are not just poking a hole in the system. They are dynamiting its very foundation. The resulting crisis of confidence will make 2008 look like a minor tremor. This is the big one, and the evidence is now clear. It is no longer a question of if, but of when. And when is now measured in months, not decades.